Welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Pinchas. And towards the end of Parshas Pinchas, the Torah details the laws of the Karban Tamid. The Karban Tamid, as its name suggests, is the daily communal offering. Actually, it was two offerings. One sheep was brought in the morning, one was brought in the afternoon. And this represented the opportunity for Klal Yisrael as a whole to participate in sacrificial service. The truth is, whenever we look at sections of Karbanos in the Torah, we often find ourselves, walking away a little bit wanting and a little bit lacking, because until we have the third Beis Hamikdash, we can't offer Karbanos. And so we often wonder to ourselves, what is the message in this to me? And the Torah is replete with details of sacrificial service. Chumash Vayikra, so much of Chumash Vayikra was all about Karbanos. And even Bamidbar, a plethora of information about sacrificial service. And in general, when we see these psukim, we wonder to ourselves, so what's the message? I understand, perhaps the message is I have to daven for the Beis HaMikdash, and I have to yearn even more for the Beis HaMikdash, so that these details will once again become relevant in my day-to-day life. But until then, what do I do with these sacrificial details? How do I find meaning? What is the message? And the great tzaddik, the Chozeh of Lublin, Zecher Tzaddik the Kaddish Levracha, advances an insight in the Karban Tamid, which is nothing short of dramatically spectacular. The Rebbe says, I want to quote you, he says, remember the Torah says you have to bring kivasim. Kivasim, you have to bring sheep. The pasuk is Perek Chav Ches, pasuk Gimel, chapter 28, verse 3. Va'amarta lahem, I'll read you the pasuk. Va'amarta lahem, Zahei Yisher shetekrivu laHashem. This is the fire offering that you shall bring to Hashem. Kivasim b'nei shana timimim. You shall go ahead and bring kivasim, sheep, B'nei Shana, 1 year old, Timimim, unblemished, Shnayim Layom, 2 every day, as we mentioned before, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Ola, it's totally consumed on the Mizbeach, Tamid. Ultimately, again, this Karban Tamid is brought, like its name says, each and every day. Each and every day. So says the Chozeh of Lublin something absolutely amazing. He says, the Torah says you have to bring kavasim. Kavasim, sheep. The Rebbe says there's another word in that same shoresh of kavasim, and it's kovesh. And the word kovesh is often used in a phrase. Kovesh ka'aso. One who goes ahead. Kovesh really means to capture. To capture, to really rein in one's anger. Says the Rebbe, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was conveying to Moshe Rabbeinu, was not just simply a detailed sacrificial service, but it was a detail and proper midos for life. Va'amarta lahem, say to the Jewish people, Zeh ha'isheh asher takrivu laHashem. Do you know what the most important offering you could bring to Hashem? Kivasim. Kovesh ka'aso. Rein in your anger. Rein in your anger. Control your anger. Chazal speaks so much about the destructive nature of anger. They compare anger to a fire. And when a person ignites a fire, it is so easy for that fire to just burn out of control. And when it does burn out of control, it eats up and destroys anything and everything in its path. It could destroy the person who ignited it, and it could destroy everyone around that individual as well. Such is the destructive power of anger. Tell the Jewish people, kivasim, I want the greatest offering the Jew could give me is kovesh kaso. Rein in your anger. Take control of your emotions. And don't let your emotions rule you. Each and every day, on any given day, there are so many things that could get us upset. So many things that could get us angry. And for good reason. But the true testament to the nature of the quality of our persona is our ability to control our anger and not let our anger control us. And says the Rebbe, listen to this, I'm going to go a little bit out of order in the pasuk. The Torah says, and when do you have to bring the kavasim? When do you have to rein in your anger? Kovesh kaso, shnayim layom. You have to do it twice a day. Twice a day. So the Rebbe says twice a day, beis pa'amim, baboker, shachris, v'arvis. In the morning and in the evening. Why the morning and the evening, says the Rebbe? Because in the morning and the evening are often the times when you see your family. Says the Rebbe, if we think about it, who do we often get angry with most? So the truth is, most of us treat strangers, friends, acquaintances, with a much more careful degree of sensitivity than sometimes we exhibit to even our own family members. I would venture to say that if we look at perhaps the people that we have mistreated the most in life, and if we try to isolate an incident where I said something really not nice to someone, I would venture to say that for most of us, that negative interaction was with a family member. Because all too often we take certain liberties with our loved ones, which we would never take with anyone else. We sometimes speak to a husband, to a wife, to children, to parents, in ways that we would never dream of talking to our friends, of talking to our acquaintances, of talking to our co-workers. It's just the nature of relationships. Maybe it's because we figure that people who love us will forgive us, or because the people who love us know that I don't really mean the hurtful things that I'm saying. But all too often we take liberties with our loved ones. We exhibit really inappropriate anger with our loved ones. So the Rebbe says, Chosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, tell the Jewish people to bring kvasim, kovesh ka'aso, to rein in, to control their anger. When? Shnayim layom, twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. When you are with your family most, that's the time to make sure that you keep your anger in check. And the Rebbe says, and if you do this, listen to what he says. If you do this, the Torah says, then ultimately again, b'nei shana temimim. Remember, the Torah said that the sheep you bring for the carbon tamid have to be a year old unblemished. Listen to these words of the Rebbe. He says, u'mechivan shema'avir amidosav. If a person is careful with his anger and doesn't get angry at things and doesn't let his anger control him, but he controls his anger, and even when he has a right to get angry, he still doesn't get angry, ultimately, again, the Gemara tells us that a person, ma'avir amidosav, if a person is willing to forego certain things, willing to be mevater, willing to yield, then ultimately, again, ma'avir menu kol pshav, Hashem removes all of that person's averas. Al kain b'nei shana, sheichashev naki michet keben shana. Listen to these incredible words. If I bring kivasim, if I'm kovesh ka'asa, if I capture my anger, I rein in my emotions, I don't let my anger control me, but I control my anger, Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us, b'nei shana temimim, I will wipe out your averos. I will wipe out your averos. If you don't get angry, if you control your emotions, even in a situation where you have a right to get angry, you have a right to get upset, but you say, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to destroy myself, and I'm not going to destroy those around me. Hashem says, if you do that, B'nei shana temimim, I will make you like a 1-year-old child. As clean, as pure, as sin-free, as guilt-free, as unblemished as B'nei Shana, as 1-year-old. Such is the power, says the Choseh, of going ahead and bringing kivasim, of reining in our temper each and every day. If we find a way to control our temper, especially with those who are closest to us, twice a day, shnayim layom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you go ahead and you rein in your anger, B'nei Shana temimim, I will go ahead and make sure that I wipe your slate clean, like a 1-year-old unblemished child. And what an incredible lesson. Says the Choseh, this is the lesson from the carbon tamid. So it is true. In Yirtzeh Hashem, when we read this section, so one of the things that comes to mind most is, how much we want the Beis HaMikdash. But until that day, lest you think there's nothing to be learned from the carbon tamid, totally untrue. Each and every day things come up which test our patience. And each and every day things come up which warrant anger. I don't mean getting angry for unnecessary reasons, but sometimes there are things in life where I have every right to get angry. I have every right to explode. But if I find a way to control my anger, if I find a way to bring my kivasim, I find a way to be kovesh kaso, I will control my anger and not let my anger control me. And I find a way not to lash out at those who are closest to me. I find a way not to go ahead and act in inappropriate ways towards my loved ones, with whom, unfortunately, I often take so many liberties. If I can exercise that level of self-control, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll give you the greatest gift. B'nei Shana temimim. I'll wipe your slate clean. I'll take away your averas. I'll give you a new beginning. and you'll be just as pure and as unblemished as a 1-year-old child. Halavai, we should be zocha. Temirtz Hashem, stand in the third Beis HaMikdash, offer up the carbon tamid together, but until that day, be zocha to internalize and actualize the beautiful words of the Chozeh of Lublin. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.